One. And welcome to another edition of the Jeff Dubay Show, a wild Wednesday from Bennett's Chop and Rail House. We're on West 7th, getting ready for round 2 of the playoffs. I tell you what, a lot of good things going on right now, including our today's guest. We're very, very, very happy to welcome Lou Nanne to the show. Lou's down in Florida right now, but that'll change in 2 days. I mean, do you ever spend more than 2 days in any city, Lou? You get around.
Not too often. I got to make sure they can't catch up to me.
Do you plan on being in attendance for any of the games, round 2?
Yes, I will. I will be.
Good. The first round in the book, St. Louis. Why do you? Now it's gotten to be a pandemic for that team. Why can't they win in the first round? I mean, are they not built for the playoffs? Because that used to be the blueprint for a playoff team, a rugged, big, physical squad. It doesn't work anymore.
Well, they should be able to play better than they have. For 3 years, they've had a real good team. I think 3 years ago, they might have even won the President's Trophy. I know they were way up there. So whenever you're able to come through a full season like that, you would think that you could play better. And they had a couple of 2-0 leads for a couple of years and then went out and let L.A. beat them. But in those instances, I think maybe Jonathan Quick just won the series himself. He was so good, and St. Louis, no matter what they did, they couldn't put the puck by him, and that might have been one of the reasons. But now I think that they're getting to a point where they got to make some changes in that team. They do have some good defensemen there, and they got a few quality forwards there. But I don't think that they're as deep as a team like the Wild up front, and maybe not even a defense. I'm not so certain that that their defense is better than the Wild's, and they do have two outstanding guys, Peter Angelo and Shattenkirk, but after that, you look, the Wild's got Suter and Brodin, and people don't understand just how good Brodin is. I think he's maybe the most underrated player around that anybody doesn't talk about.
Well, people underrate, the feat of a defenseman. Bouwmeester's slow. We turned the corner. We had forwards turning the corner, come up the wing, too frequently for St. Louis's comfort in this series. I mean, I just thought that they looked a little slow on the blue line, but I still think the biggest factor was Jake Allen. I mean, you go back to game 5 in St. Louis. The way the Blues came out, I thought, boy, oh boy, they're going to put the foot on the throat and they're going to keep it there. And then he gives up the weak goal to Scandella, and it turns everything around. And then you get to game 6, and he didn't even give his team a chance.
Well, there's no doubt about that. He did not play well in games 5 and 6. He did play well in game 2 that St. Louis won, that the Wild could have won. And I think in the first 4 games, if you look at it, he probably had tougher saves than Dubnyk. And so he, at that point, was every bit as good as Dubnyk. And then games 5 and 6, he just went to bed.
Lou, this is Tony Dean. I write for Hockey Buzz. I cover the Wild. I really wanted to ask you about Mikael Granlund. And the reason I want to ask you is because I really respect that you have seen every level of hockey in the multiple different places. Is this a guy that's going to be a superstar, or is this a guy that's going to be a serviceable playmaking center? I wonder if he gets bigger and stronger and he's able to keep his skates and he's able to carry the puck and become a 60, 70-point guy, or if his plateau is going to be in the 40-point range and then he's just a supplemental guy.
No, he's going to be between the two. He's not going to be a superstar, but he's certainly going to be more serviceable. He will be a 60-point guy in the league. And one of the things you got to remember, to be a 60-point guy, you better have guys in the wings that are putting up a lot of points too. And he's had some injuries this year. He's had some sickness. And he's had some different line mates, and he wasn't playing with Parisi for a large time early in the season. So you got to have somebody that when you give them the puck, they're able to put it away, and that's not an easy thing to do in the league right now. There's a lot of them, but he definitely is an excellent hockey player. He sees the ice so well. He handles the puck so well in tight situations, and more than people realize, the guy is extra competitive. He's ultra competitive, and he uses his body. For a little guy, he's always one of the leaders in hits.
Hey, Lou, Scott Schweitz. Kind of keeping with the same theme with Setterman. Eric Howlett had such a tremendous playoff last year, and this year he's kind of he's fallen off and kind of fallen below the radar. Some people say that he's in Yo's doghouse, and just seemed to have such a great future ahead of him and good expectations. What do you think happened, with Haula, and is he going to be able to turn things around, or was it kind of just a one-hit wonder for the playoffs last year?
Well, he's got a couple of things going for him. First and foremost, he's very, very fast, which you need, and he's a smart player. I think that he got the pressing early as far as points go, and actually, one of the things that really happened on the positive side was the emergence of Brodziak came back in January. He started the season a little slow last year. He could have been gone, actually. There was, I'll tell you, a lot of talk about Brodziak not being here for the full year. Well, he comes out in January, and from that point on, he's been tremendous. He's given the Wild terrific center ice play, penalty killing, physical play, important face-offs, strong checking. And so now all of a sudden, you look down the middle, you got Koivu, Granlund, and Coyle, and Brodziak. It's tough for Haller to fit in there. And so he essentially had to play the wing. And I don't know if he's strong enough or good enough on the boards to beat out the guys they have.
Hey, Lou, the round two opponent, Chicago, from just a style standpoint, size standpoint, speed standpoint, not at all similar to St. Louis. How different will the Wild lineup look? Because they can do some tinkering down at the bottom of that lineup. And who do you have to have Koivu on the ice against on a regular basis?
Well, you want to have him against Taves as much as you can. And he's big and strong, and he can muscle with Taves all night long. And you could also use Coyle there. And the only thing that worries me if you got Coyle there is Vanek going to be strong enough defensively to stop Hossa. See, when you got Koivu going there, you got big boys on the wing with Niederreiter and Stewart, so they can use their bodies effectively. This is going to be a very fast series. It probably won't be as physical as the Wild Blues series. And the Wild really, in my mind, have an advantage if they start playing more physical than Chicago, because they can slow them down somewhat. And the Wild have every bit as big a team as Chicago, maybe even bigger. A couple of the keys, they got to forecheck strongly and get on Keith and Seabrook before they move the puck. They're so good at it. But whenever you get the lineup like Chicago's got, you got to find ways to shut down Kane, Hossa, Taves, and Sharp. And Bickle's been a killer all along, but you really do know that they got four guys that are tremendous offensive talent.
Lou, I want to ask you about the power play. So the power play all year has been a core unit, and then at different times they've talked about working on it or finding ways to make it look a little different. And that top unit just, for whatever reason, they struggle to carry in. It's a lot of perimeter, and then when it's going good, it is the perfect play. But what are they generating? How has the power play not been addressed at this point?
Well, I'm not going to second guess Andrew Burnett or Yo. I personally like the second power play unit better than the first for a couple of reasons. One, because Granlund's always going to get you the zone because he's so good with the pucks they can't even get in. But he's got to watch making plays around the blue line after he gets in, turning pucks over there. And I like the point shots by Dumba better than by Suter or Palmerville, because Dumba hits the net far more and he's got a rocket. And you could put anybody with him, Spurgeon or Scandella, and I like that too some more on the points. And I think that's one of the keys, is they got to put shots on net, not miss the net, because then you lose the puck. Many times you lose the zone. And I just, I love Parisian on the power play. Obviously, I love him everywhere. He's so good at deflecting pucks and getting to pucks. And it's a question whether you use Vanek there or Palmerville up front. But that's their choice. That's what they're going to do, and I think they're comfortable where they're at.
Hey, Lou, on that point, do you think it would be better to kind of mix up the PP1 and PP2 and just get some of the veterans mixed in with some of those guys like Dumba and Spurgeon, and that you can kind of spread it around a little bit? Because I I don't take away from from Parisi being on the top power play, but I definitely agree that Pominville and Suter are not getting it done on the point like a Dumba and a Spurgeon would do. So do you think that that's kind of the answer to the recipe of making things happen? Because, I mean, even so far in the playoffs, we've seen, Dumba score on the power play, and you're getting more production maybe out of the power play number 2 as opposed to the first one.
Well, I don't know if that's the answer, right? But it's certainly worth trying if they're uncomfortable where they're at. And I do like Pominville down low rather than up high. I think he's got he's got a great shot, quick release, but he's more accurate down low than he is up high, and I think he misses the net far too much up high. And personally, when you're playing a team like Chicago, for instance, I would always look at who's killing penalties for them, and they are dangerous up front. So I would not want to go with just one defenseman and one forward when I do have 2 capable defensemen and 3 capable defensemen of playing the point in the power play and still being there defensive if you need them.
What do you make out of Chicago's goaltending right now?
Well, I hope that they stay erratic as they are. Every time I think Crawford's not going to play well against us, he comes up with a good game. He's had a good history against us. I just hope that now maybe they got into his mind a little bit, and Nashville did with some of the bad goals he gave up, and it might worry him a little bit. So if he gives up one, then he might be on a short leash.
Do you think they'll be more patient, though? Because if they're going to win the Cup, they're not going to win it with Darling. Are they? I mean, could they?
I don't know. I wouldn't think so, but whoever gets the job done for him, one thing about Quenneville, he's not afraid to try other things, and if the guy comes in as hot like Darling was when he replaced Crawford a couple times, and then he got cold and Crawford came in and played well, so you got to be lucky. I mean, we went through that last year, if you remember. We had 3 goals, and it was basically going all year long, and in the playoffs we changed 2 a lot, and still got by Colorado and give Chicago all they want.
I got to believe it's easier for Quenneville to do it in the first round than it would be as it gets deeper, though. I mean, as it gets deeper, you got to have your guy. I mean, I got to believe you got to have your guy ready. I mean, I just
so do I.
Yeah.
I mean, I would not want to be uncertain about it, but they do have the good fortune of being able to score a lot of goals. It makes up for goaltenders' mistakes, and so maybe Quenneville feels that because he's got that asset, he can try some different things.
Hey, Lou, before I let you go, people are always asking me about Glenn and how Glenn's doing, and I know he's up in Canada, and I have not spoken to him since he left. And I asked you the other day how he's doing. Did you mind giving the folks an update on Glenn?
Well, I talked to him a couple of weeks ago, and Glenn is Glenn as far as his spirits go. He's in great spirits. He's in good health, but he overall, I mean, as far as being able to move around, talk and that, but he does have he's suffering from short-term memory loss, which is tough on him because when you talk to him, he remembers all the things from a long time ago, but some of the short-term things he doesn't. But his spirits are still great. I guess this guy has just been meant to always have a great amount of enthusiasm and spirits, and I don't know. I think that he seems happy enough, but he does miss being around here and seeing some of the people. Yeah,
and I know a lot of people miss him, and he played a key role in my sobriety, in my recovery, and I will never forget him, never forget what he did for me. And
well, yours is a lot more, Jeff. I can tell you stories of how many people he's helped, and it's over 30 years, and it's really something that the kind of commitment he made. Yeah, he also took me to an Edina Hopkins game where I got to sit with him and Willard Eichela and watch a high school hockey game. How great is that? Isn't that super? Yeah. Yeah, that's cool. Hey, thanks for your time, Lou. I really appreciate it. Okay, guys. Nice talking to you. Take care. Get out on the golf course. Thanks. Oh, yeah. Thanks. That's Lou Nanny.
Suhan Unfiltered, sports columnist for the Minneapolis Star-Tribune, Jim Suhan presents in-depth conversations with the best writers and sports personalities in the area. Suhan brings professional journalism flavor without the verbal censoring. Find out what unfiltered really means. Only on the Alive and Social Network. SuhanUnfiltered.com. Reach for this one.
Just when you thought it was safe to go back online.
Let's turn it on. That took a very PG direction.
Along comes this hit show.
I'm constantly burping on stage.
Hey, you heard about Madonna, right?
Twin Cities hit show with Rusty, Courtney, and Chuck.
Had she fallen to the ground and her eyes rolled into the back of her head, what would you, Tim Mahoney, have done?
I'd have tried to make out with her.
Nice.
Get in line.
The Twin Cities hit show with Rusty, Courtney, and Chuck airs live daily, 9:30 to 10:30 on the Alive and Social Network.
Ever swallowed a bug or choke like Courtney on stage?
Yeah.
I meant.
This is a Wild Wednesday. I am Tony Dean. I'm here with Scott Schweitz and Patrick Disher. I always want to add an L. I'm sorry. I don't know why that is, but I want to add an L and just change your name for you. It's a Wild Wednesday. We are here at Bennett's. We are here, sans Jeff Dubay. He is not feeling well. He is not here today. So what we will have to do is we are going to have to steer the ship. And what we'll try to do is we'll try to do our best at running a show and being coherent and being productive here. We have made this place our home for Wild Wednesdays, and Joe Bennett and the Bennett family is a hockey family, and they've done very well to make sure that Coors Light comes in here and is a part of the show, and also is our sponsor. We have a banner on the wall here, so if you stop into Bennett's and you see the banner on the wall, you can see some jerseys that we're giving away. You can see that we've made this place our home, and the address is 1305 West 7th Street, right down from the Axis. This is a place that runs they run a shuttle to the games. This is where hockey on West 7th Street is a priority, and it's a family environment. So we are sans Jeff Dubay today. We had
which means it's actually more of a family environment.
Yeah, which means that probably we won't get yelled at for swearing on the show. We also had Lou Nanny on, which was just an amazing opportunity, and Lou was very good to us. He spent some time with us. He answered some questions. I think what we want to do now is we want to break down the Blues series. Scott, during the Blues series, I think confidence was high going in that the Wild could knock off the Blues and send them home early. And then in Game 4, they come out and they just destroy us. They chase Dubnyk off. A lot of people questioned whether this was reality setting in. Games 5 and 6 go the way of the Wild, and now we have a second round matchup with the Blackhawks. Can you give me your thoughts on the Blue series?
Well, basically, it kind of was like a Jekyll and Hyde back and forth series. I mean, you go into St. Louis on the road and do what we've been doing since the All-Star break and since especially towards the tail end of the year with being a fabulous road team and took Game 1. Game 2, I think, could have gone either way. I think there was a couple that really were some uncharacteristic saves that Backus made one and Allen took one in a stick and a turnaround, and so that was one that I think could have gone either way. Game 3 comes home and we open things up. I mean, we open things up and really dominate the game, and nobody on the Wild wanted to say that we had a complete game or a complete domination of the game. But I know that they were thinking it because in Game 4 they came out and just I don't know what the best word to use is, but just embarrassed us. That's probably the best word. Embarrassed us on our home ice and in front of our home fans, and I was there, and I could tell you at the beginning of the game, the crowd was into it. We were riled up, and everybody was chanting, and there were some rubes chanting, the Allen chant in the beginning, and the game got away from us early. A couple quick goals, and it got down 3-rip. We scored one. Everybody got kind of hyped up, and within a couple minutes later, they score again, and it's done. So everybody wondering going into Game 5, going back to St. Louis, what team we would see. Obviously, I think from what I've read and heard from Yo,
that was a good. Basically, it was a good thing that we had a little bit of a humbling experience with that game, because it kind of put things in perspective for the players, showed what it looked like and felt like to get embarrassed on your home ice, and then from there it was all domination. I mean, I think games 5 and 6 you saw that we really took it to them. We shut them down. We were great defensively. Dubnyk bounced back incredibly after getting pulled, and you saw that. The rookie goaltender in Allen, I mean, he had some cracks. I mean, he let in some really soft goals, and especially that Parise goal, on the shorthand at the crazy angle
from the line, right?
Which I saw. I mean, it was like right in front of me, and I saw him coming down, and he was breaking. I'm like, all right, what is he going to do? Going to cut behind the net? What is he going to do? And he fired one off, and it was quick, and I saw it, pull the twine on my side. I'm like, oh my God, they just scored. I'm like, and the place erupted, of course, and he was fired up, and of course was shorthanded. And then in the second, Fontaine gets that softie. And from what I was told by, you and other people, is right before that, is Hitchcock is being interviewed by I believe, like Brian Ekblom, and he's like, what do you think? You going to pull your goalie? And he's like, no. We got to stick with this guy. He's resilient. He'll be fine. And then it was like, no kidding, like 30 seconds later, the Fontaine breaks down and puts the puck on Allen. And if you watch anything or know anything about hockey, a goalie goes down and he keeps his 5-hole and pads open, and he doesn't do anything to cover it up with his stick or his glove or anything. And a softie goes in, and you could just see the defeat that he just doubled over and was on the ice, and then Hitchcock had to pull him. So it was absolutely like the epitome of the defeat of the Blues when that goal went in. I mean, they got the weird bounce angle goal at the end of the second, within a few seconds left by Oshie, but they came back out in the third and responded, and it was, with the Parise goal, and you could see with Parise doing the double fist pump and the slam into the glass and everything. I mean, they're fired up, and so I think going into Chicago, the only thing I'm kind of bummed about is that there's such a lull between the end of this series and the beginning of the next, and I'm hoping that we can keep the intensity and everything going. So that was my breakdown.
I think the interesting thing about the Blues series is that they were considered the biggest and the baddest, and this was considered to be their year to address the early round exits and to have the younger players graduate to the elite level that they've been projected to. They have the young stud goalie. They have Brian Elliott, and they had traded Halak the year before, so they really committed to Elliott. They give him a contract. I mean, this was supposed to be the Blues' opportunity to prove to everybody else that they have what it takes to get deep into the Western Conference and make a run at the Cup. And when the last days of the regular season were taking place and I was looking at it, I was really thinking, the best first-round matchup and the one that I really want to seek out is the Blues, because if you knock down the neighborhood bully and you humble him and you see that look in his eyes where he loses that toughness, when you send Backus home early, there's no better springboard for you to go on a magical run. And I really think that this group for the Minnesota Wild, for them to respond to Game 4 like they did, for them to dig out of the hole like they were in January, be honest about it, I was in the camp that was like, there's just no chance when you're this deep in the hole that you're going to have enough firepower, enough consistency, and a long enough, great enough run to make the playoffs. So then myself and many smart people and stupid people and bandwagon fans, we all have to eat crow on that, right? So then when you get the Blues in the first round, you're thinking they're going to prove this year that they can make a run, and they're going to do it, at the expense of the Wild.
Well, they did turn it around at the end. I mean, the Blues basically came back and they overtook Nashville for the top in the Central. I mean, and really kind of challenged for the number one in the West, but it fell short from Anaheim. But then it looked like they kind of were getting things together. I mean, they took care of us on home ice. at their home ice at the end of the year, and that was really from a lot of people that I read as kind of a precursor, a predictor to the series. Like, oh, well, look what just happened on home ice. I mean, everybody they each had some of their top players sitting, but they did beat us on at St. Louis to end the season. But
that's what the reality is. This is the Blues team that's going to show up to the postseason. This is the team that you're going to get 5 out of the 7 games or 4 out of the 7 games, and this is a team that's going to prove that they can advance in the postseason, and it didn't happen.
And the super ironic thing about that game is if we would have won that game because Chicago lost later that day against Colorado, it would have been a completely different dynamic because the Blues would have played Chicago, and we would have played Nashville. I mean, it would have completely changed everything. And and I know that there's fans that are like, I mean, myself included, if I look at all 3 teams, I'm like, who do I want to play? I mean, and you don't like to think that way. You don't want to go in with the mentality of, I want to play them. They're my best matchup, because you immediately have like preconceived notions that like, we match up good against them. We have this against them. But the Blues were the one I didn't want to face, and was maybe compared to Anaheim.
So when you say that, you were thinking, I hope we get Nashville.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Because we just destroyed them like the past 2-3 games.
Sure. Everyone was saying that. You guys on the show were talking about how the Blues were good.
Yeah, and I think everybody was saying that on the show except for me. And based upon the reasons I've listed here, I mean, I wrote it at Hockey Buzz. I wrote that if you get the Blues in the first round, that gives you the springboard. And then I believed that the Blackhawks would knock off Nashville. So then, once you knock off the Blues, then you're staring down a chance to prove
redemption,
to prove that you can beat the Blackhawks in the playoffs after they've ended your season twice. And I think, I'm definitely not putting the cart before the horse, because that Blackhawks team has the most playoff experience. They have Kane and Taves, who have 2 cups together. They're still under 30 years old, and and the young players in Chicago, I think they don't get enough. They don't get enough credit, and they don't get enough publicity for how talented they are. But Brandon Saad, Tuvo Teravainen, I mean, even the young goaltender Darling, who's a hometown guy, and he kind of came out of nowhere. I mean, they have a very strong core there, and they've every year that they've supplemented on it, and they've gotten secondary scoring and just contributions from guys that they're having to add during the salary cap. Because I mean, ultimately, the enemy of Chicago is the salary cap.
Yep.
There's no shortage of players that want to go play Chicago Blackhawk hockey. There's no shortage of players that are willing to sign up, maybe take like a veteran minimum to get on board and go there. And the other thing
is, we got players like Richards that went there after he got bought out, and I mean he's been all right. I don't think he has made a great impact in that team. I mean, let's face facts. The players that are making the difference on that team are going to be your Taves, your Kane, your Patrick Sharp. Those are the
Duncan Keith,
Marian Hossa. I mean, and then for us, Brian Bickle. I mean, those are the ones that are going to be the difference makers. Bickle has always been a wild killer. It's kind of like the Aginla 2.0. I mean, he has our number somehow, and out of all the goals, even this during the regular season, he's scored 60% of the goals against us, which is unreal.
And I have a theory about that, and I just think that you get a guy like Bickle, and nobody's there to move him off of his spot, man. And I equate it to like a basketball reference. When you have a guy who can find his spot and find his territory, if there's nobody there to put a body on him and get him uncomfortable or move him off of his sweet spot, he's just gonna dagger you. And Bickle crashes the net, and now what we're looking at is the games in the Blues series where they had success. They were able to get into the paint. They were able to get into the center of the ice with the puck, or they were able to own that real estate and then have somebody feed them the puck to those areas. That's how you ended up down 3 goals on home ice in Game 4. is that nobody kept them out of the center of the ice. And really, I put it on Ryan Suter. And I think the reason it gets put on Ryan Suter is not that it's completely his fault, but he's just the bigger guy of him and Jonas Brodin. He's the bigger guy of him and Spurgeon. So you look for him to clean up that area in front of Dubnyk and not allow for Tarasenko and Backes and guys to get redirection goals or to get rebound goals or junk goals.
Sure. I mean, absolutely. And I think if you're gonna take that game 4, I mean, I think you have to just throw that out the window, because from top to bottom it was played poorly. And the reason that everybody got so worried about Dubnyk is because everybody else didn't play their game. So it's a trickle-down effect. I mean, goals are scored that wouldn't have been scored if regular players had been doing their thing. So you do your normal thing, and you're having them shoot from the perimeter and not letting people, get inside. And then Dubnyk, I would say, a difference maker wise, not only just the saves, but just the fact that he will not let anybody invade his space. I mean, he will get physical to move anybody that creeps near the paint. Well, he will give. He showed it in Ott when he was nailing Ott in the back of the legs. I mean, he will tackle people, basically throw his blocker and his glove against people. He does not let anybody invade his space. And I will say that if people are trying to get in tight with somebody like a Bickle, he's going to push him out of there. And I would say that I hope they don't pay too much attention to him, like it's going to be over the top, like a shadow type of thing, like McKinnon was and whatever else, and how people said we needed to shadow Tarasenko. But I think as long as you match up line for line and you do things like that and you keep an eye on things, you're going to match up pretty well. Our defense is match up D to D. I would say we are stronger than the Blackhawks are. I mean, from top to bottom with the skill sets that we have, completely underrated, and I thought we matched up with the Blues that have a superior defensive core than the Blackhawks do.
I certainly think if you look at the way these teams are constructed now, the Wild has a great opportunity to have speed and skill to match up with Chicago. Maybe I would say Chicago has elite level talent more than us with regard to snipers, with regard to scoring. In Hossa, Kane, and Sharp, definitely. But when you look at the ability to possess the puck, when you look at size, when you look at strength, when you look at contributions by the forwards in the defensive zone, I really think that the Wild matches up well this year.
I think we match up better than them because the thing I like about it, and I actually like the fact that we did not overtake Chicago, because there's something this team, and we've talked about it before, something that this team likes about being the underdog. They have that kind of rise from the ashes Phoenix style, where they were 12th in the West, and they came back, and it was constantly like a gritty, I need to prove myself. We need to show that we're better than people are giving us credit for. So to come back and for people to be like, after that game 4, I mean, myself included, I was like, oh, I thought this was going to be over, and now this is probably going 7. I mean, I really had that kind of that sinking feeling walking out of the X, and I'm like, I was super confident. Now this happened, but then they showed when they play the game that we play that's why we were so good in the West at the end of the year, is we can beat anybody because we match up defensively, we shut down people, we make them play a perimeter game, we limit the shots. Dubnyk does his job and he makes the saves he needs to save, and we're a complete 1 through 4 line offensive team. Everybody from the first to the fourth can score goals. With Matt Cook coming back and playing the game that he plays, with Fontaine playing, with Brodziak's reemergence in the second half of the year, playing incredibly defensively, and I will eat crow completely on Brodziak. He has been playing fantastic defensively. He's not contributing offensively, but defensively, the way that we need him in penalty kills. But as far as the scoring goes, you have good balance of scoring with your top 2 lines, as long as your third line can contribute, and that's going to be like an X factor with Vanek, Coyle, and what's assumed to be, if Zucker's going to play there, or if Nino's going to play there, depending on how they're going to figure out that second line with Koivu. That's going to be what's going to determine, I think, this series, because Koivu's line is going to be matched up with Taves. That's already a predetermined thing. That's how it's been historically. And then obviously you have Parisi and Pominville that can do things, but they're going to watch them more. It's the third line that I think is going to be an X factor for us to have the big bodies and to be able to have some things happen and knock in some goals. Coyle was damn close with the one off the bar that went off Allen, and then Backus saved that one. I mean, he was very close to scoring, and I think that they if Vanek can kind of elevate his game a little bit, then that's going to be the factor.
I certainly think that and I say that a lot, and I don't mean to just always start with I certainly think, but I've noticed now that I have to pick up a little bit of weight with Sir Jeffrey of Dubay under the weather here. I believe
everybody has their thing. By the way.
I know, and like teenage girls always say like,
or people from California,
So I believe that this Chicago Blackhawks team strong down the middle. Their centers are going to be Taves. It's going to be Richards. It's going to be it's going to be. They have Shaw. They have Vermette now. That's the other. They added Vermette. And I was like, this is a guy I don't know a lot about because he plays for Arizona. Arizona's traditionally they made the playoffs one year, I think, early round exit. But the addition of Vermette was kind of interesting to me because they added Vermette and they added Kimmo Timonen. And so when they add these guys that are looking at, a last leg type of run towards, getting a cup in their career, and you kind of wonder, come playoff time, are they going to be a huge addition? Are they going to be a guy that raises the bar in his play, that understands how to win close games, or are they just a shell of their former self? And so
I don't think personally, if watching that first series, I don't think they did anything outstanding.
Yeah,
either one of them. And I will tell you that I'd much rather take Chris Stewart than either one of those guys.
Sure.
I mean, I would take Chris Stewart all day because he brings a dynamic to our team that we did not have before, and we talked about it before that other players will play differently because of him. I don't think any of the Blackhawks will play differently because of Vermette or Timonen. I don't think any of them are doing it. They are supplemental, like bit players in that roster where Stewart comes in, we put him on the second line, he adds a dynamic, he adds an angle of a player that we don't have, and attributes we don't have or didn't have, and it's a difference maker. I mean, you can... we talk about the Blues are a big, gritty team, and they tried to push us around, and then we kind of laughed at them and got them just completely agitated and off their game and played a speedy game. Now the Hawks are a speedy team.
And we're going to lean on them, right?
So how do you do it? So do you basically lean on them, or do you try to match the speed? That's what I was kind of wondering with a Schrader or a Howlett. Do you try to maybe integrate them in the lineup, or do you try to be physical? Because if you try to be physical with speed, maybe that works. If you try to focus too much on the physicality, do you fall into the Blues trap like they try to do with us?
Yeah.
And then Chicago is speedy around us, and they're like, "To hell with you guys! We're just going to skate around you." There's a balance there that you have to really delicately, really navigate. I'm not sure what the answer is, and we'll see as Friday comes out. But there definitely has to be, I think, a nice balance of grit and speed, because I think these teams are really matched up well.
What I've noticed about the way that the Wild matches up with the Blackhawks this year, I really think that they're going to be able to drive possession. I think that they're going to be able to protect the puck. I think the Blackhawks are certainly skilled. I think the Blackhawks, top to bottom, are talented, and they have guys that are gritty. And you have Andrew Shaw, you have Versteeg, you have Bickle, you have the bottom of the roster guys. You have Roosevelt, who's willing to mix it up. Both Seabrook and Duncan Keith are going to bang bodies. For whatever reason, Quenneville loves Kyle Comiskey, who's going to mix in that bottom pair. I just wonder, the Wild and Crawford have a history together. I've been in the building when Crawford gets booed out of the building.
Well, they're using the Crawford chant on the Wild commercials. I mean,
know.
That's kind of just.
And you know what game that was? That was when Marco daggered him in overtime. I was in the building. I was in the top deck. I just snuck to the game like 40 minutes before the drop of the puck, and that's when Marco blasted one from the left point and beat the Blackhawks in overtime, and everybody was just like, it was like Marco's coming out party. It was just unbelievable. That's where that Crawford chant comes from.
Well, and I watched the Allen chant go, but I think Crawford has to really probably if he's gonna be the starter, which Quintonville said he's going to be. So if he's going to be the starter, he's going to stick with him. As we talked about earlier when we talked to Lou Lanny, you have to stick with a goaltender if you're going to make a cup run. You can't do this kind of back and forth bit. And looking at how the goalies have stacked up thus far. I mean, you got Crawford's 1-1, and he's got a 4.19 goals against.
Yeah.
You got Darling at 3-1 because he had a nice run.
Yeah.
Granted, I mean, you are playing a Nashville team that is, I think, a weaker team, and they've lost Shea Weber.
Yeah.
I mean, so that is, and they lost Fisher. Lost Mike Fisher for part of that too. So Darling's 3-1 with a 2.22 goals against average. So if you're looking at those two,
what's so interesting? So on Hockey Buzz, I wrote that I think Dubnyk's the strength. I would take Dubnyk over Crawford.
Me too.
Or Joe Bennett does as well.
All day.
Or you take him over Darling. Not to take anything away from those guys. And obviously Crawford has a pretty good resume, right? But Devin Dubnyk is the strength for the Wild, and that's a plus sign, or that's a check, or that's whatever you want to label it. That's a different. It's a factor for the Minnesota Wild going into the series.
Well, and even in the regular season though too, because if you look at before, if you want to talk about like BD before Dubnyk, BD. It's, not combine or confused with the Bible of BC. Not that either. I was going to say Bible style.
You win Bible, I win BD.
Yeah, that's different.
We covered all bases.
The good and the bad. But we lost 3 to the Blackhawks before Dubnyk came here. Afterwards, we won 2 of 2.
Yes.
So basically, and you're looking at your shots and everything and your goals. I mean, Blackhawks scored 14 goals on us in those first 3. We scored 11 on them in the last 2.
Sure.
So basically,
and who is their starter? Because they're not committed. I mean, being honest about it, they're not committed.
Well, and that's why they have to, I think, determine who's it going to be, because they were going Darling, and they should have stuck with Darling, I think, into that second game after he stole the first one from Nashville. And Nashville went up 3-rip. We were sitting here. We watched him go up 3-rip. We're like, whoa, what's going on? Then they pull him, pull Crawford, bring in Darling, and they win the game.
And doesn't it seem like that's the same situation that the Blues are in? You have 2 very good goalies, right? And you're going to go with the hot hand, but you have to make the right call. And when each of these games,
for all intents and purposes, though, Allen was he should have been the right call compared to Elliott. I mean, they rolled the hot hand that they had.
But wasn't Darling the right call over Crawford into the playoffs? Or was it the vice versa? Was Crawford hot going into the playoffs?
I think Crawford was the goalie, and then they realized they needed to make a change, and they put Darling in, and then he surprised everybody. He came out of nowhere and stole that game, and then everybody was surprised that they went back to Crawford for game 2
just immediately, and then it ended up being the wrong call,
and they lost, and then they went with Darling in game 3.
And as a Wild fan, as somebody that follows this team and knows how critical it is to ride a goalie and how goaltending affects the NHL playoffs. Good for them for not having a number 1 guy. I mean, that's just to the benefit of the Wild. I mean, being honest about it.
And that's a big thing comparison to us from prior years. I mean, you look back 2 years ago, granted we were not the team that we are now by any stretch of the imagination.
Sure.
But you don't have a goalie that you can lean on. I mean, what do you got? You have, was it Harding warming up or something? He hurt himself, or Backstrom warming up? Was it
Backstrom?
Backstrom warming up, and then they had to go to Harding. So all of a sudden, that was 2 years ago. So then last year, you got You got
Brizgalov and Kemper.
Yeah, and so Kemper's rolling, then he gets hurt. Briz has to come in, and or vice versa.
Kemper was rolling, and then Briz comes in.
and then
when you get to the playoffs, it's really a coin flip. A lot of people wanted to roll with Briz, and I really wanted Kemper, and I'm a Kemper guy. So, I mean, that's just the reality of it. Is that when it creates a divide. I mean,
we had a trifecta goalie last year. I mean, you have multiple, and same thing as we did earlier this year.
Yeah, and Harding was like the best goalie in hockey for like the first 2 months of last season. That's what it's easy to forget that. But now you have all these guys, and everybody's kind of got a horse in the race, and everybody has a different opinion. And so
you've eliminated a lot of the distraction though with Dubnyk. I mean, you eliminated a lot of this. I mean, nobody talks about Harding because he hasn't played a game this entire season for the Wild. So. Great point. Wild win the cup. No ring for him. No ring for him.
Nice.
So, step 2, you got Backstrom. You're going to work out, and you're going to basically you're going to be able to 86 him in the offseason. And then once you eliminate that, then you have the tandem goalies of Dubnyk and Kemper. I mean, a great tandem goaltending core because both are capable. It's good that Kemper can be the second guy and kind of learn and not have the pressures, but you don't have extra distractions and other things like Harding and Backstrom going forward, and Backstrom doesn't even get talked about anymore. So that's the nice thing. You have a number one that's dedicated and that's determined, and there's no question.
If he's willing to sign here. And with that...
No, right now. I mean, right now, going to playoffs, you don't have the problems you've had for prior years. I mean, you have a guy that you're comfortable with and absolutely confident in, and you don't have to worry about prior years. I think we're going to go to break, so we'll be back in a few.
Join longtime radio personality and producer Kelly Guest and friend, CEO of Fantasy Gifts, Colleen Bertino, as they talk about all things sex, men, women. Lend them your ears and learn everything you wanted to know about sex and intimacy. Only here on the Alive and Social Network. Legendary Minneapolis-St. Paul sports radio personality Jeff Dubay's energetic sports talk jumps right into the nitty-gritty local sports details you're looking for. No one else is delivering you sports news, current events, and guests with Dubay's gusto. Join him live at any of his bar perches or live streaming Monday through Wednesday only on the Alive and Social Network. Just go to JeffDubayShow.com.
We're coming back from break. We are working on being seamless with our transitions, and we are trying to guide the ship without the captain.
You completely missed before we came back and he unmuted us, I was talking about the Coors Light being gone, and I was trying to do a little Jack Sparrow, like, why is the rum gone? Like one of those kind of bits, and it was really beautiful. But
what a great opportunity. The show has been taking off. We have a new sponsor, Igloo, and that's Otsego, Wisconsin.
Yeah, the Igloo out in Otsego, Minnesota. It's a great little place. They got a bar right next to their hockey rink. They have hockey camps all summer long. Nate Prosser hockey camps. It's all things Minnesota hockey, just like Bennett's, and we love to have a partnership going with them.
And then the Facebook page for the Jeff Dubay Show, Wild Wednesday, it's just taken off. People just are just overwhelming in their support, and they have been seeking us out. You can find us on Twitter. It's at Wild Wednesday JD for Jeff Dubay. So it's all one word, Wild Wednesday, assuming you can spell that, and I believe that you can.
Godspeed.
I appreciate you. Wild Wednesday JD, and that's at Wild Wednesday JD on Twitter. You can find the Facebook page, Jeff Dubay Wild Wednesday Show. Just a great opportunity to be able to talk hockey, to be unfiltered, uncensored, no politics. The reason I love Lou Nanne and I'm so appreciative of him coming on today is when I ask Lou Nanne about the power play, why have we kept the core unit together? How come from the beginning of the season to right now in the playoffs, we're still asking why this top unit doesn't get the puck in, why they make it so that the power play is not an advantage? How come we don't see? He mentions Matthew Dumba. He mentions Jared Spurgeon. He mentions Scandella on the point of that top power play. Why don't they mix it up? Why don't you see your best table setter and your best playmaker and probably puck carrier at the center position in Granlund? How come he's not getting top power play minutes? How come we're not giving him more of an opportunity?
Well, it's good that you hear it from somebody like him as opposed to people like us, because we see it. But
Sure.
when you have somebody who is an elite hockey mind and his hockey immortality, that means something. If he has the same opinion, then something is wrong. And he was careful to walk around like not taking anything away from Brunette and Yo and how they're setting up the power play. But let's face facts. I mean, you can't be kind of deferring to your veterans all the time. I mean, you have to defer to what's right, and clearly from the entire year, like the point on the power play in the first unit power play is not working.
They don't get pucks to the net. No,
and Suter doesn't have a shot. That is not one of his attributes. He does not have a shot like the other three in the top four. Or not. I mean, not even him. I'm sorry. Not to take Brodin out of this. The other two in the second, and then Dumba. I mean, all three of those players have better shots from the point than Suter. And Pominville, as Lou said, should not be in the point. He should be down low. So who do you take out of that? Who cares? I mean, you find a way to mix and match.
Sure.
Who cares? So you got Parisi on the first unit. You got Koivu. You put somebody else low, whether you take Vanek out or put Vanek on the second one or whatever the case is, and then you mix up your D. You put Spurge and you put Dumba on the first, and then you have Scandy on the second one with somebody else, whether it's Brodin, whether it's another forward. It's your second power play. It should be the one that isn't playing as much. You put your guys that get it done. I don't care how much money they're making or what kind of like league notoriety they have or what kind of resume they have. Who gives a shit? Just do it. Put the right people in the right spot.
You know what's so interesting too? Here in Minnesota, we're so passive aggressive. We find so many different ways to explain away why they haven't mixed up the unit. Why they haven't come to Ryan Suter and been like, listen, you're our guy. You are Norris candidate. You're a top guy. You're a top minutes guy. But here's what we need to accomplish on the power play.
That's one of his attributes. I mean, sadly, but
sure.
He's a journeyman defenseman. I mean, he's fat. He's one of the best in the league. But honestly, he's not.
He's an intangibles guy. Though.
He does not have the offensive presence that those other guys do. And when you're on a power play and you need to have a couple defensemen on your power play, you shouldn't have a forward rocking the point when you have defensemen that we do that have offensive tendencies and offensive contributions that they do, especially with people that have shots like Dumba, who has, an absolute howitzer, and you have Spurgeon, who's a little guy, but he can rifle the puck as good as anybody, and he can paint corners.
Sure, and he can carry with speed. He can get it in.
And you got Scandella, if he's not rifling slappers, he can rip off a nice wrist shot or snap shot that is really sneaky and can get deflections. So those are the guys that you need. You don't need Pominville, who's missing the net, and you don't need Suter, who's playing quarterback back there. You need guys that are going to rifle off shots and hopefully getting tips and remaunds.
You know what's so tough about it is, I label it Yo knows best because I'm being snarky.
Classic.
and I'm making light of the stubborn nature.
For a while it was real. I mean, for a while the Yo knows best was real.
Ultimately, the definition of insanity is doing the same thing and it over and over and over, having it not generate different results and expecting different results. And so having Suter and Pominville on the point is not working. And it doesn't mean that they're bad players. Suter's offensive abilities have a lot to do with carrying the puck, being strong with the puck, getting it in. He's
not an offensive defenseman.
No, but
he's not an offensive defenseman.
There's certain things, but there's things he does in the offensive zone that he adds to. He holds the pucks in. He can get them deep. He can contribute with the pinch.
Well, good. So then maybe there's a meet in the middle, and you take Pomeroff, and you put him down low, and you take Vanek out. And you put a Spurge or a Dumba on there.
Or you put Dumba on there, and then you safeguard him with Suter, and then Suter has the back responsibility, and he can mask for Dumba being a little bit more aggressive. But what's so interesting to me is that they choose not They choose not to do anything. And when you choose not to do anything, and then your power play all year long struggles and sputters, and everybody is asking and wondering why you're not doing anything to address it, even into the season. The reason that you bring in Andrew Brunette from up top down behind the bench is to address the power play, and we don't see it get fixed. We don't see it get remedied.
What they've done is they've changed the distribution of the 2 minutes. So it used to be a minute and 30 seconds went to the first power play, and then you got a little bit of visibility into the second one. Now they've moved this up a little bit, so you get a little more split.
A distribution of the minutes on the power play is what we've accomplished.
I'm telling you what, though, you see it creeping like from they just got a few seconds, and then Coyle was having to answer questions like, well, we got to do what we can with the seconds we're given.
Sure.
And then now you're seeing a more equal distribution of those of the time, and you're seeing the goals coming. So in essence, do you want to call it a power play 1 and a power play 2, or do you want to just call it 2 power play units and just say whoever scores, they score? I mean, that's it.
You know what it is? It's the politics of hockey, though, right? So ultimately, the guy with his hand on the button is Yo, and then the guy with the plan is Brunette.
I mean, it's true, and we can sit here and play.
But here's what I'm saying:
Monday morning quarterback. But if clearly what he's doing overall is working,
is it?
No, overall with the team.
On the power play.
Overall with the team, though.
Not on the power play.
But overall with the team. So if you screw with something and it has a negative impact on something else, is it worth doing?
But you know what though? I mean, to call it into question doesn't make me a bad fan, and it doesn't make me it doesn't make me unreasonable.
It doesn't. But that's why you or I are not the coach and getting paid to be the coach. So
But that goes to the hockey politics, right? So the reason I ask Lou the question, right? The reason I asked Lou Nanny the question today, and the reason even the access to him is just unbelievable for somebody who's internet media like I am, a writer, blogger, whatever it is wherever it is that I exist, right? I
don't even exist. I'm just here.
No doubt.
I'm just here for the Coors Light and the wings. By the way, plug for Bennett's dry rub wings here are badass. They are good. You got to get some dry rub wings. Get a 12 set, a couple Coors. You are off and running.
But your name's on the banner, so you do exist.
I'm on the banner.
And you have a Twitter account.
I did have
where people can troll you. I mean, people should troll you more. They should troll you a lot more.
The best is a couple guys that were on the show before, I think, trolled me a little bit, and I was like,
sure.
What are you doing? Like, I didn't engage you on your little trivial argument back and forth. I'm like, I think I played referee, and I'm like, all right, that's enough, guys. Like, you're going back and forth, and they're like, oh, guy just disappears. I'm like, shut up. Like, grow up.
I'm a little disappointed that you don't understand or participate in the interwebs as much as other people do, because I find it funny that, like, if you call into question Mike Yo for anything and then they win a game, then it's hashtag fire Mike Yo, and all the snark comes out.
That's why I've stopped reading. I love reading the Strib.
Yeah.
I love reading anything Russo puts out. I think he is a brilliant writer.
Alive in Social Network, Suhan Unfiltered, right?
You are the best at the plugs. Honestly, he's the best at the plugs and the feel good moments. We need you on this. This is good.
You just massaged a dry rub wing.
Easy.
Plug into
Easy.
the thing.
Take it easy on that one.
I looked deep into your eyes when you did it. I'm proud of you.
I love the dry rub wings.
I'm always proud of you.
They're fabulous. But point being, I will never read the comments anymore because it's just the same D-bags over and over again.
The Brian Reynolds of the world. I said your name.
Using different like names where they're commenting on their own comments, and it's like, I mean, that's like people who sit in their mom's basement and
Giles Farrell.
I mean, it's just they constantly do that, and I can't handle it. I'm like, I mean, they're like do this, and it's like a constant. I mean, Tony calls it the tired narrative, and I'm just like, I can't handle it anymore, so I no longer read the comments.
Yeah. Disconnected with reality, Emily Weiner.
I don't. Wow, that was like 3 in a row.
I know. And so the reason I'm proud of you for not participating in the internet is because it becomes.
Was that seriously or facetiously?
Just in general, because I know you're at the games. I know that you're at the games. You've committed. You're a season ticket holder. Plus, you're a hockey guy. Plus, when we talk about hockey, you go out of your way to make sure to prepare yourself and commit to whatever it is that you've decided. Whereas there's a lot of people, right, that they wait for the team to provide you with a narrative, and then they just live in the safe zone of that narrative. So when you call into question whether Pominville should be on the point of the power play because his shots don't get through, he doesn't win puck battles, he tends to bobble the puck whenever he's in a pressure situation, and then maybe he's better served by not playing the point. When you call that into question, well, one, you're a bad fan, or you have no idea, or it's a hot take, and then you have these people that hedge their bets by never committing any sort of like genuine like idea, out of the box thinking, or just in general committing to anything, and then they use the internets to like make themselves feel good in these little groups.
Yeah, no, I agree, and I would say that I mean it's just nothing to do with trying to be this or that, or whatever. I mean, yeah, I'm a fan. I've grown up playing hockey. I love hockey, and I've had tickets for 9 years. I mean, so I've watched the team. I've been with the team during their dismal days, and I've now been with the team during their good days. And so I've seen the evolution from even 3 years ago when Parisi and Suter got here to now, where just because of them, we've talked about them changing the culture. We've talked about the team changing. I firmly believe that Mike Yeo is the right guy, and even if he's had his down times, I was the one that said, you change the goalie, this entire thing changes. I'm not trying to get credit for that.
Devin Dubnyk, the savior, you get credit for that.
But I guarantee you that if that happens, we fix it, and it was fixed. That was it. That basically, I love this. Look at you. What do you think we're at, like Applebee's? What did he keep writing stuff on the table?
He's drawing. It's a dinosaur.
We should give Patrick some crayons. He's going to draw some pictures.
It might be a penis. I'm not sure.
No penis.
No penis. Don't draw a penis on the table. Here's what I'm saying. Does it make you a bad fan to boo the team when they shit the bed?
I don't really like game 4. I don't really like when people boo. I mean, I sat there and I endured the entire 60 minutes. Yeah. And I endured it as a fan, and I didn't walk out because I'm there with the good and I'm there with the bad. If I left after the second, I would be no better than the person that just ponied up the money to buy Game 4 tickets. And it was the only game he went to all year. I mean, I'm with this team when they were horrible, and I'm with the team when they're good. I mean, so I'm going to sit and see the plays that they're going to make when they play poorly, and I'm going to sit there when they play well.
Here's what I'm saying, though. When they get laughed out of the building, right? When they come out, they give up 3. They're not engaged. When it gets ugly, are you a bad fan for booing the team?
I don't know what good it does. I mean, I think if you boo the team, what good is it doing? Do you think the team doesn't realize that they just had a horrible performance after coming out in Game 3 and playing well, and then they let them win 6-1? Do you think the team doesn't realize what that feels like? I mean, and have the your home ice. Your home, your people are booing you.
Sure.
For a game that, yes, you didn't come out and play your best. Yes, I get it, but does that help anything? Does it honestly? Do you think it does it
make you feel better?
But it doesn't. I mean, for me, booing, you think it makes me feel better as a fan? No. I mean, why would it make me feel better?
Okay.
So I'm just going to put an exclamation point on the loss and be like, hey, by the way, not only do you suck, now I'm going to boo you to make you feel worse about how bad you just sucked.
Sure.
So maybe it was my hope that maybe if I boo you, you're going to have enough mental reaction to it that next time you're going to come out and play better to appease me and to win back my love.
So when they mail it in or they shit the bed, what is the proper reaction?
If it's a one-off thing, I mean, I think I'm not elated with the game, but I'm also not going to stand up and be like, God, you suck, and yell like everybody else. I mean,
so then how do you react? What's the proper reaction? What in your mind, right? If
my reaction is the Coors Light wasn't flowing anymore after the first, and I just sat there and I watched the game, and I basically put up with it, and I picked it apart a little bit, and I'm like, we'll see what happens the next game. We're going to see how they react.
Smart.
Will they bounce back, or am I going to just completely dismantle myself and go down the rabbit hole and say, oh, God, that's it. The season is done. Now look what happened. They scored 6-1 on us, and it clearly is over. I mean, did I have a little bit of gut check and say, oh, maybe we're not going to win this thing the next 2 games? But at the same time, I had to say, we had great games in Game 1 and Game 3. We need to see what happens next game. And they came out and responded. I mean, it's the thing that I think of it like a bandwagon, and I don't want to get on this kind of tirade, but if you're a bandwagon fan and you're up when the team is up, and you're the crowd of rubes that are waving their towels and are getting nuts and scoring and doing the chants and stuff, and then all of a sudden, like, the tide turns a little bit and you completely turn on the team. What kind of fan are you? I mean, are you the same fan that just gets on the team when they're up and then don't give a shit when they're down? I mean, are you as good as that person that just flips on, like, the Twins or the Wolves or whoever when the team's playing poorly? Or are you the person that sticks with the team game in, game out, no matter what?
All right, so going forward into the Blackhawks series, right? And I appreciate
you had enough of my
and you know what? You know why I asked the question? Because I personally feel like if you boo the team, they should know, what the fuck was that, right? There should be some sort of reaction like that. But I also, right, I look at the game differently. I'm my own person. I tend to talk out loud when the game's happening, so maybe people don't want to listen to me, or people enjoy that I'm mentioning stuff that maybe they didn't see, right?
And people pick the game apart differently. And think of, like, the people that are yelling shoot all the time.
Yeah.
The people that yell shoot all the time, I mean, I don't want to say that's the exact same as the people that are booing, but it basically is like the people who are like, shoot! Like, do you know how to work a perimeter of a power play? Do you know how to, like, cycle a puck? Like, what they're trying to do?
Sure.
And I get to a certain point, they need to shoot, but if you're just mindlessly yelling shoot for no reason...
Yeah. But maybe they have PTSD, you know what I mean? Like, maybe...
What was that?
Maybe they have post-traumatic Pierre-Marc Bouchard syndrome.
Oh,
you know
wow,
what I mean? Where you have a guy that has all the talent in the world, and then he never does anything with the puck, and then they lose it. And then
he was like Glass Joe. I mean, he had a couple. He only was good when Gabrick was here, and that was it.
So let me ask you this: going into the Chicago series, who needs to be the guy to ignite our attack?
See, you said be the guy, and then you said the word ignite, and I think those two do not go in the same conversation as the person I'm thinking of. And I think
I'm hedging towards Thomas Vanek,
but he's not going to be an ignite guy. I mean, he's not going to be a Parisi kind of guy that when he scores, he does the double fist pump that Patrick was all fired up about earlier, and he slams the glass with his fist. And he is clearly just absolutely just, I mean, over the moon that he just scored his second goal and that basically kind of iced the deal. He puts the team on his back. He's the heart and soul. You get Vanek, who he could score, and he's gonna have like a mild Selly. I mean, I want in the playoffs, I want a crazy Selly. I want a Zucker Selly. I want like a Parisi Selly. I want somebody who, like, just gets all riled up, and that's what the fans just thrive on. And I mean, it's like a Coliseum type of a crowd when you feed the Christians to the Lions and people are just going rowdy. I mean, nice. You want people to just get out of their mind.
How good is that reference? That's so good.
I mean, you want that kind of like absolutely raw emotion and people just getting just weird with people they've never met and high-fiving and going crazy. When you get somebody who scores and they're just like
bumping fronts.
Yeah, they just
bumping
like,
fronts.
Yeah, maybe front bumps, whatever. I mean, but that when you get somebody who scores and they're like, yay. I mean, I want him to care more. That's what I want. I want him to like somebody to like prod him with some sort of like a cow like electrode and be like, hey, wake up! Like, it's the playoffs. Like,
but you know why I mentioned Vanek? Because there was so much build up to him returning here, and
wasn't him though. That was the team.
Well, no. But I'm saying for the fan base, right?
That was the team and the fan base building it up. But for him,
for hockey geeks like me, when you give all of that for Pominville, you're like, oh, we got Pominville, and then when you learn Pominville, you're like, okay, that's a good player, right? But all roads lead to Vanek, right? And Vanek. I'm a Vanek apologist, so I know that he created offense this year and he served his purpose and served his role. But I'm really looking for his watershed moment this season, and I'm thinking
it could come.
It
could come with his line mates.
And the reason I say the Blackhawks, because this isn't going to be an overly physical team. This is going to be a skill team, and this is going to be a team that I think that he can have the puck and create with it, whether that's setting up others for goals, whether that's him scoring more. I'm waiting for his moment where he's like, this is my shot at the cup. I'm 30 years old. I'm not exactly what I was. I'm not exactly Danny Heatley. This is my shot to have this team make it. I'm waiting for that moment.
Well, and you want that moment, but at the same point, I mean, he's here for a few years, and let's face facts. I mean, this team isn't going anywhere for the next couple of years. I mean, it is going to be a contender for the next 2 to 3 seasons. But I will say that I would like to see some sort of spark out of him with playing with a Zucker. If they keep the lines the way they're, have kept them with Nino on the second, if he's going to play with those, or even with Nino and Coyle with three big guys, I mean, I think that basically he should have all the opportunity with all the focus being on those top two lines. So yes, does he have the opportunity? Did I think that Fontaine was going to break out and score a goal? I didn't think it was going to be that softy, but I thought he was going to come out and do something. But I would say this, I think if anything's going to break out, that third line is clearly the one that has the most potential over the fourth. I mean, if your other two are basically combined with Chicago's top lines and Chicago's lines that are going to match up well, then the third has got to be the game breaker.
What I want to say is thank you to Lou Nanny for being on the show with us. Again, Jeff Dubay was not feeling well.
And we found out where in the world Lou Nanny was.
Yeah, we did, and we're unable to disclose it other than Florida.
Florida.
We are a part of the Alive and Social Network. Earlier, we had Suhan Unfiltered with Michael Russo. Michael Russo has been very good to us, and I've had a great opportunity to sit down with him and kind of learn from the Don. This is Alive and Social. I don't think that there's a better podcast out there for hockey. Thank you for always supporting us. You can find us on Facebook, Jeff Dubay Wild Wednesday Show.
You can find us at Bennett's on Wednesdays drinking Coors Light.
My name is Tony Dean. I am here with Scott Schweitz and Patrick Disher. I got it right that time, but I wanted to say the L. Thank you very much for listening. Find us on Spreaker. Find us on iTunes.
iHeartRadio.
JeffDubayShow.com. You can find my material on HockeyBuzz.com. Thank you for your support. The Wild Wednesday Show has been growing. Thank you to our sponsors, Coors Light. Thank you to Bennett's for always being very, very good to us. Joe Bennett and the family.
We'll see you next week.
Bye.
Mambo Italiano, Mambo Italiano, go Joe. Shake it like a Giovanni. Hello, che si dice, get a happy in the feet. So when your mom